Hey there, future teacher. Welcome to another video about how to pass your CSET Multiple Subjects exam. In this lesson, I'm going to be talking about assessment so that you can pass on test day. If you haven't watched the other videos I've made, my name's Elliot Zelinskas. I'm also a California credentialed teacher. I have prepared for, taken, and passed this CSET exam, so I know exactly what it takes to do so. And it's going to be my pleasure to be your test prep instructor. If you haven't already gotten access to the study guide and the full-length practice test that I've made, as well as all of these videos, make sure that you click the link in the description below to make passing simple. Without further ado, let's begin this lesson. Starting with the assessment lesson, remember that students in early childhood education, they are learning to read. Whereas in upper elementary school, a transition happens and the students begin reading to learn. So you go from learning to read to reading to learn. Now, assessment methods. Assessing children's understanding helps teachers, you and I, know the knowledge that has been mastered as well as to which material still needs to be learned. There are three types of assessments that you will have to demonstrate your understanding about on your CSET exam, and that includes entry-level assessment, monitoring of progress assessment, and summative assessments. Let's go over each in detail. What you need to know for your CSET Multiple Subjects test is that the entry-level assessment, these are given prior to instruction in order to determine which students possess the prerequisite skills and knowledge of the topic. Then we're moving on to the monitoring of progress assessment, and these assessments are given during an instructional unit to better understand which students are or are not making adequate progress toward achieving the standard that you're teaching. Next, we have the summative assessment. And notice here that this assessment is given after the instructional unit, quarter, or year in order to measure student achievement of a specific standard or multiples of standards. Now, different assessment examples might be study guides, graphic organizers, reading a passage out loud, writing, summarizing, vocabulary assessments, spelling assessments, quizzes, and also tests too. Next, we have the informal reading inventory, also IRI. This is an individualized portfolio of assessments that the teacher collects throughout the year in order to showcase the individual student's reading progress throughout the year. Assessments often include the following inside each student's individualized portfolio. This might be word recognition lists, reading interest surveys, concepts about print, phonemic awareness, fluency, structural analysis, and also vocabulary. So the teacher can gather all of the different reading materials and assessments that they've taken throughout the year and continuously put them in the individual student's portfolio. Notice here that the students at different grade levels will have different types of assessments in their IRI. On your test, you'll be asked to define independent reading level, instructional reading level, as well as frustration reading level. So let's go over these now. Recall that a student's independent reading level is found when the student demonstrates the ability to read aloud 95% or more words correctly and answer 90% of comprehension questions correctly. Now we're moving on to the instructional reading level, and this is found when the student demonstrates the ability to read aloud 90 to 94% of the words correctly and answer 60% of the comprehension checking questions correctly. And then we have the frustration reading level, and this is found when a student demonstrates the ability to read aloud less than 90% of the words correctly and answer 60% of the comprehension questions correctly. Now we have concepts about print, and there are 4 of them. These include print carries meaning, letter, word, and sentence representation, directionality, which is the ability to track print, and then also book handling skills. Instructional strategies to teach concepts about print. Let's go into this now. The first one that we recommend is that you can use the shared book experience. This is when the teacher actually uses a big book, a physically large book, and starts by introducing the cover, the author's name, the title page, and other aspects of the book. Then the teacher reads the story with full dramatic punch, and the teacher pauses at specific locations in order to take predictions. Next, the teacher and the students have a discussion about the book, and they share their favorite parts. The story is reread at a later time, and the students can reenact parts of the story. Now let's talk about assessment for concepts about print. First, the teacher picks a book and has a pencil and paper ready for the teacher. Then the teacher asks the student questions like, "Can you show me where I should start to read?" And in English, we know that we start to read at the top left corner. And this will show that the student understands this part about concepts about print. Also, the teacher can ask the student to point to the words as the teacher reads them in order to assess directionality, which we can recall is the ability to track print while reading. And then finally, we also have the teacher will assess word boundaries, and the teacher will cover up all the lines on a page and ask how many words there are on just one line. And this allows the student to demonstrate their ability for word boundaries. To assess if a child understands that print carries meaning, the teacher will ask the student to write something. And if the student writes letters, not just squiggles or pictures, then the child demonstrates an understanding that letters convey meaning. Now let's talk about ways to differentiate concepts about print instruction for our different types of learners, such as struggling readers, English language learners, and advanced learners too. For struggling readers, make sure to use tactile and kinesthetic methods, such as using letter tiles to help tell the difference between a letter and a word. Whereas if you get a question on your CSET about English language learners, use knowledge from the student's first language in order to transfer skills to English instruction. And then lastly, for our advanced learners, we can increase the pace of instruction or build on to their existing set of skills.